Hello, hello. Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Lauren O'Connor. I am the president of Amplified Minds, and we're thrilled to welcome you to our panel, Beyond the Stage, Navigating Mental Health in the Industry. As you can see, we have these amazing panelists today, and we're excited to get this going. But before we do that, I just want to say a couple quick things, and then we'll jump into it. I want to do a special thank you to Jambaloo for not only giving us the opportunity to host, but also choosing us as a charity partner for this year's festival. We are genuinely grateful for this partnership and deeply appreciate the visibility, support, and belief in our mission and in the incredible community we serve. So thank you so much for having us a part of this. Woo! And I also want to thank Tulips for having us and allowing us to host the event as well. So thank you. And most importantly, we want to thank our incredible panelists for being here tonight, to making tonight possible. I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick intro and bio, and then we'll go ahead and jump in. Today we have our Dr. Peter Thomas, who is our Vice President of Amplified Minds and our moderator. Woo! Licensed psychologist in Texas, practicing in the DFW area since 1995. He earned his doctorate in counseling psychology from the University of North Texas and completed postdoctorate training at SMU, UTD, and TWU. He's also a longtime musician, screamer, and supporter of the DFW music scene. He works with the adolescent and adult creatives, artists and musicians, navigating their mental health journeys on depression, anxiety, mood disorders, suicidality, self-injury, and multicultural stress, and longtime work in the transgender community. He is active in the arts community, supporting local and national musicians. And next up, we have the amazing Jenni Rose. Woo! Jenni is a Texas-based singer, songwriter, and guitarist, best known as the frontwoman of the country punk band Vandoliers. Blending Americana roots with punk urgency, her work explores themes of identity, resilience, and belonging. In 2025, she publicly came out as transgender, becoming a visible advocate for authenticity and representation in roots and alternative music spaces. Rose continues to tour internationally while developing new projects that push the boundaries of genre and storytelling. Thank you so much for being here.
You forgot bad bitch.
And a bad bitch.
Matter of fact, start over.
We'll start over again. Next up, we have Kirk Stafford. He's a lead therapist at Canvas Outpatient, where he provides intensive outpatient program services and individual psychotherapy for adults and teens. With over 10 years of experience in mental health, Kirk has extensive expertise in addiction recovery and has worked across inpatient and outpatient treatment settings, supporting clients and families. He believes effective therapy is rooted in collaboration and works closely with clients to create a safe, supportive, and structured environment that promotes meaningful and sustainable growth. He also has a Bachelor of Arts in Communications from the University of North Texas and later completed a master's degree in social work at Tarleton University after several years working as a paralegal. His career reflects a deep commitment to service and community impact, and in addition to his clinical background, he previously worked in the music industry with Universal Music and Distribution, giving him a unique perspective on high-performance environments and creative professionals. Kirk will also be leading our Fort Worth group that begins on Sunday, March 1st at 2 p.m. So you can learn more about that on our website. So thank you. And finally,
You want her to add bad bitch to
and a bad bitch.
And a bad bitch.
But it's seasoning.
Season.
Sparkle
Bad
it on
bitch
there.
was all around.
They're bad bitch.
Doctor.
And last but certainly not least, we have Cameron McCloud, founder and frontman of Cure for Paranoia, a dynamic Dallas alternative hip-hop collective. Known for his thoughtful lyrics and electrifying stage presence, Cameron captivates audiences and performances that leave them wanting more. Quote, I got placed on medication for bipolar depression and paranoid schizophrenia, but it turned out that the music was more therapeutic than the medication was, so I created Cure for Paranoia as a source for therapy for myself, with the hope that eventually it could be therapy for someone else in the future.
Period.
Period. Thank you all. That's amazing. We're so honored to have all of you here. Real quick, before we get into the panel, I just want to take a moment to talk about Amplified Minds and why we're having this conversation. Most of us in this room, if not all of us, have either lost someone to suicide, known someone struggling with mental health, or faced these challenges ourselves. We understand the weight of these struggles and stigma that so often keeps people suffering in silence. And this is exactly why Amplified Minds exists. To be the light in the darkness and to remind every person that they are never alone. Our organization was founded in response to the tragic losses of local musician Frankie Capagna and Adam Carter of Spectre 45, along with many others in our community. These heartbreaking events made it clear that accessible mental health support and open conversations were urgently needed. Texas ranks last in access to mental health care, meaning it had less access to treatment, insurance coverage, and mental health professionals than anywhere else in the country. This is why organizations are so crucial like us. What began as a single suicide prevention group has now grown over to 7 programs. This is virtual and in person. We include general support, LGBTQIA support, substance use, and art and music therapy, free to the community, and led by our licensed counselors. To date, I think we've helped well over 4,000 individuals, most from the creative community, and nearly 70% of attendees have used our services 21 plus times, showing that these spaces are not just helpful, but they're essential to our community. This is a testament to the incredible work done by our counseling staff, whose dedication and care makes these outcomes possible. And also, our mission goes beyond providing free services. We're committed to breaking the stigma around mental health through initiatives like tonight's panel, community events like our Louder Than Stigma Fest, which we'll be doing again this year, and partnering with organizations around the area. So thank you for all the support for our community coming together. Without that, we wouldn't be possible. So before we get started, I'm gonna go ahead to turn it over to Peter. And we hope, if you have any questions, please feel free to talk to any of us at the end of this or reach out to us. Awesome. Thank you all.
Thank you all for being here. I very much appreciate that. And good evening. And I want to thank our panel for being here as well, too, and for bringing your time, bringing your stories, and bringing the care that you have for our community here. It really matters that we're having this conversation together. And tonight's panel is about something that often gets minimized in creative spaces, and that's the mental health realities of working musicians. The mythology of the industry romanticizes struggle, burnout, instability, substance use, isolation, as if they're a part of the artistic process. But the data tells a different story. These aren't badges of creativity, these are occupational hazards that we face. Research consistently shows that musicians experience substantially higher rates of depression, anxiety, sleep disruption, substance misuse compared to those in the general population. So tonight's purpose is simple and practical, and that is to name these challenges honestly, reduce the stigma around them, share strategies that can actually help, and build a culture where taking care of your mental health is seen as professional strength and not a weakness. Creative work is built on vulnerability. Musicians make a living by feeling deeply, noticing everything, and telling the truth out loud. That openness is often what makes the art powerful, but it also means we wear less armor. At the same time, the industry can be unstable, competitive, relentless, irregular income, late nights, constant evaluation, pressure to stay visible. Those aren't personality issues, those are working conditions. And when you put sensitive, expressive people inside highly pressure systems, mental strain isn't surprising, it's predictable. So tonight is about not necessarily fixing individuals. It's about normalizing the conversation, reducing the isolation, and being honest about what this work cost us and how we can take better care of ourselves and each other while we're doing it. Because substantial art requires sustaining artists. Yeah. We'll kind of start our panel tonight. I'll kind of bring about a intro question. If the audience has questions as well too for the panel, feel free to chime in. If you have comments for the panel as well too, I don't know if we'll have a roving microphone, but feel free to stand up and shout. This is probably the one room where you can stand up and shout and not be arrested. So I'll start with our panel first. And you guys can kind of decide who wants to take this and who wants to field these questions. I'll start with this one. What first drew you to making music, and what did it give you emotionally before it ever became work?
Wait, I was literally about to say we could do rock, paper, scissors. We here with it. We here with it. You can go first. Yeah. Rochambeau. You speak in tongues? No. Rochambeau. Hey, man. You want me to go? Okay, so I guess if you want to go like back, the very first time that I ever wrote music was in 3rd grade. My mom was dating this guy at the time named Nahala Johnson. He's over like Boomtown Productions. And at the time, he was producing music, trying to make music videos, trying to make his own films. Now to this day, he's like making music videos for like Rick Ross and Bumby and like DeRoe. It's just wild. But I would always stay at his house after school while my mom worked late. And one night, I got snowed in at his house while he had a bunch of artists over working on a new song. And it was the first time that I'd been there. Usually my mom had picked me up by then. It was the first time I'd been there late enough to, be there for the studio aspect of things. It started smelling like pine cones in the house. I didn't know what weed was yet. And I'm just sitting there. That's why I'm like this now, my God. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching all of them write music and all of them work on songs. And so I took a notebook and I went and hid in his room and started writing music. And then one of the girls that was singing on the song, she had came into his room, and I like sat on the notebook really quickly, and I didn't want her to know that I was writing a song. And she was like, she basically made me perform the song for everybody in the house that was working on the song. And the reaction I got is a reaction that I, to this day, am still chasing that feeling. Because it wasn't necessarily a situation where it was like, oh, good job, you wrote that, we're gonna put this right up on the fridge. It was like, you wrote that? Like, that came out of you? And I was just talking about, being snowed in and talking about how I felt, like it being my first, I don't know. I was just really expressing my thoughts and putting it down on paper. And I got to do it to music and kind of, I don't know, like speak for myself in a way that I had never really been able to. And I think that's just a feeling that I've been chasing ever since. And then fast forward to when I was 16, I feel like is when I had my midlife crisis, because I realized just like I was not a normal person in so many ways. And I remember writing in my journal at 16, the goal was to be successful enough to be myself. That was the only reason that I was like, I'm gonna be so good at rapping and so good at doing music that it's like, it doesn't matter what is quote unquote wrong with me. Like, it'll be seen as artistic, and yeah, that's the long and the short of it. Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I always had a problem connecting with people. When I was a kid, I would try to make people laugh. I would find myself getting into trouble to get attention. My parents were really, really great and very sweet and wonderful, but they were also very focused on their jobs and their careers, and they were working at home, so there wasn't much of a line between work time and family time. It was just kind of all the time on call. And so I always kind of felt a little disconnected from in that moment. And when I was younger, I felt like I had a hard time making friends, like when around in my neighborhood. But I went to a choir rehearsal at church and started singing, and I really liked it. And it kind of gave me a little bit of a group to start hanging out with. And as I got older, I would always connect with people through music. Like, I would start these little singing groups because boy bands were popular or something like that. And then I saw a punk show, and I was like, oh, you don't have to be very good to do this. You could just do it. And so I started a band, and that gave me at least 2 friends. And then those 2 friends hung out with me, and I wasn't alone. And then my songs would allow me to kind of say how I felt, just like you, Cam, and like then somebody else would understand me instead of me kind of overthinking or trying to say the right thing so they wouldn't just walk away from me or whatever. And I had a band, so I had 2 friends and some songs, and that allowed me to connect with people. And I was like 12 years old when I started doing that. And I played at a roller rink, and I got kissed by a girl, so I was like, well, I'll just do this for the rest of my life, and we'll be fine.
Yeah, I really think there's something unique about music and being within the scene that provides us with a sense of affiliation, a connection with people. And then when you're up there and you are being vulnerable with people and telling your story and singing your songs, all of this stuff, that provides another sense of affiliation with people that you haven't really even met. And it's so interesting when those people show up to the show and they are connecting with you on a certain level with things. That's a very unique experience to kind of have that I think a lot of people outside the community don't really get a lot, yeah. But that sense of affiliation, I think, is so important to have.
Yeah, it gave me a little bit of a spot, and I felt less isolated. And so I could just, start being, instead, I was never invited to parties, so I would just throw parties at that point, And then, I wasn't really, I didn't have the confidence to just go up and just make friends with anybody, but I did have the confidence to go up there and, sing my song really loud, and then, at least 1 or 2 people might like it, and then they would come over and hang out with me or whatever. And it was a really good way for me to just kind of find my place and outside of sports and big group things. It was also a way to kind of stick out for a second, too. Yeah.
Kirk, I'm curious, back at your time at uni, was there that sense of affiliation on the industry side of things for you with stuff?
Is this on? Yeah, so working at Universal, it's like the most underpaid I've ever been. But
in so many ways.
and really my time at Universal was, cut short. It was like Napster was happening at the time, and the industry was really evaporating. And when Lauren was talking about how, dynamic the industry is, you never know. They would, at Universal, they would call you in. First they closed the office, and then they were like, we need you to come in, actually meet me at a Starbucks and bring your computer, which meant that they were gonna fire you, lay you off. And you brought your computer to turn it in. But I wanted to touch on vulnerability, because I hear these stories, in your formative years, you guys discovering music, and I was just thinking about, I didn't have music, I didn't really play any instruments. I mean, I was in band, but
More of an instrument than I play.
right, yeah. I was in band until high school, but in high school, marching just did it for me. I couldn't do it. It was too hot in South Texas. But I just remember a vivid memory of me at 16 was I was super suicidal, and I was the kid that would go into, this is a similar story, I'm sure everybody on stage has a connection to this, but I would eat lunch in the library. I would go to the library and read books, because that's the kind of kid I was. And I remember being suicidal, and I read a book on suicide. So I'm sitting there in the library by myself during lunch, reading a book on suicide, and nobody comes up to this kid. Nobody says, "Are you okay?" Anyway, I'm just glad that you guys found music, because in a lot of ways, me discovering my friend group and my tribe of skater weirdos, really saved my life in a lot of ways. And I don't know, it's really important.
I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Me too.
When did you first recognize the emotional demands of being a musician? When did that first really hit you? And do you remember the first time that it hit you oh shit, this is a lot?
I think for me it was more so whenever I realized that this was what I wanted to do with my life. I realized kind of how scary that was about to be. because the same time that I realized that I wanted to be a musician was the same time that I like kind of realized that like there was something wrong mentally, and also like I grew up in the church and wanted to be a pastor before I was a musician, so I also felt like there was something wrong with me as far as like my preference as well. So it was just like, that's why I called it like a midlife crisis, because I literally convinced myself that I was going to have to literally like break myself I was gonna have to like have basically like a break, like a psychotic break, in order to shape myself into the person that I had to be. It's like, you can't be anxious if you want to be a rapper. You can't be gay if you want to be a rapper. You can't be any of these things. And on top of that, Bishop T.D. Jakes said I'm going to hell, so now I got to work through that too. And it was just like a whole just thing. I'm like, Jesus. So for me, what it was, and we all the church kids got to go through it. For me, it was really like, I think it's so funny that the band ended up being called Cure for Paranoia, because it was literally my entire journey of doing music was me fighting through all of the things that made me anxious and paranoid and just doing it anyway. I remember before I met the producers that I have now, I used to take my CD that I had recorded during college of just beats that I got off YouTube, and I would literally, I forced myself to, I would print up those CDs. This back when you had to print the CD, back in my day, print the CDs, and I would like write the track lists. Yeah, my God. Tapes? Okay, well, never mind. Okay. I got 90s, and then we got Stranger Things. Okay, I'm gonna leave it alone. But I would.
Don't get Peter started on 8-tracks.
Oh, look. See. But I would literally force myself to go to the mall and rap to people with my CDs. And I had like a whole spiel where I would be like, it's a mixtape, it's 10 songs, $5. I'm gonna spit a verse, and if you like it, you can cop a tape. If you don't, you can laugh and keep walking. And like every single, I would pay rent. I lived with another person, and he would like do shitty tattoos to pay his half of rent, and I would do this to pay rent and work at Olive Garden, but that's beside the point. The thing is, I'm literally going up and rapping to strangers at the mall with my hands like literally like shaking, and it's because I'm literally like, back to the question is, I'm literally like forcing myself to be this person. I was forcing myself to be confident. I was forcing myself to not be anxious. And it was just a lot of realizing the things that I was going to have to put my, like exposure therapy, I guess. All the stuff that I was going to have to mentally put myself through if this is actually what I wanted to do with a career. So yeah.
And Jenni, you were kind of identifying with some of what Cam was saying.
All of it.
All of it.
Yeah. No one ever. You're gonna say like, I want to start a band. And everybody's gonna be like, that's a terrible idea. And then you're gonna have to fight through that first thing, and you're gonna have to hear a million no's. And I like always talk to like younger artists. I'm like, here's the trick of the music industry: no means no. Maybe means no, and yes means maybe. And if you have that mindset, you'll be okay, because you'll be able to handle like people not responding to your emails, people not liking your video, people not doing this, no one reacting to anything, getting dropped from labels many times. I sat in that Universal office and waited hours.
On Luna?
Hours and hours and hours, bothering the shit out of y'all. I also got dropped from that same development deal. Like I know what
Starbucks?
Yeah, I've just felt I've felt that crushing defeat so many times. Yet I'm still playing music, and the vulnerability that you're talking about, I felt very much when I came out, because that was the first time I let anybody know what was going on with me this whole time, and something I try not to act on or try not to even acknowledge. And that was like the substance abuse and all that stuff kind of started to
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember reading your post when you first came out. It was at such a time too where if you were in the trans community, you were keeping a low profile, right? And it was a difficult time in Texas to be anything other than white and male. And I remember reading your post, and I remember really appreciating the visibility that you kind of gave this, and giving that a voice for a lot of people that I work with that are still, ridiculously afraid of even letting their best friends know.
Oh, I'm afraid all the time. I was scared shitless to come here.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of the thing with now, like with living in 2026, we're all scared, and we all have to wake up, and we all have to get out, and we all have to go do our thing. We all have to try to just carry on every day. And my experience now is as a trans woman, but I still have like those moments of uncertainty where like, I hope I'm walking into a safe situation, or I hope that I'm going to a place with friends, not enemies. And I hope I'm like, especially being in the country scene, I'll play shows and I'll just be like, I don't know if I should be here, And then it always ends up really good. Like, life is beautiful. People are inherently good.
I'm going to remember Cam's story about his hand shaking and selling those CDs in the mall as kind of a point of reference of just pushing through the anxiety with all of this just to be present in the music space and in the music community with that. Yeah.
Stage anxiety too. I mean,
yeah,
I kind of have a follow-up question for all of you guys, creatives up here. And this is like about like art, and have you ever written a song that was so personal and so it touched you so deeply? It was probably a good song, but that you weren't able, or you didn't feel like you were able to perform it live, like something you wanted to keep for yourselves?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I just started playing it over the weekend. It's funny you said that, and the reaction has been visceral with people. And I'm new to writing in a completely uninhibited way. I used to think about, is this catchy? Is this fun? Is somebody gonna, play this on their boat or whatever bullshit I was thinking about at the time.
It's super specific.
Oh my God. Like, you know what I mean though? But like, we all have those moments. It's like, is this gonna make a playlist? It's like, that's just all passive, empty shit that we don't actually need. What we actually need is the human experience manifested through art. And when that happens, it's really scary. And you have this moment where you might not want to show people. And I talked to a guy named BJ Barham before I came out, and I remember like having this challenge inside where I was like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna come out, but like I know I'm trans, but I don't know if anybody would, want me around. But I remember just being like, yeah, I got this like punk record, no one's ever gonna hear it or anything. And he looked at me like immediately and stared me down, and he's like, I have released every piece of music I have ever made. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, that's very, very open.
I definitely understand both sides, Like, I understand that some of the best art is one that connects with people, obviously, and, comes from a very personal place.
I feel like, first of all, I don't know where my manager is, but Gavin, write down that we need to start working on boat music, please. Get a second. That's the next step in my career. Thank you.
No problem.
But also
under 120 BPM.
Boat it up, boats and hoes.
Yacht rock.
I need to just go. For me, because I completely get where you're coming from, but for me, it was like last year was actually the first year that I was just like fully unapologetically saying everything I wanted to say in music, like just no holds barred. But prior to that, I was saying what I wanted to say in music, and I was expressing who I was, but it was always in like a subliminal way or whatever. So I like, because it was stuff that I needed to get out. It was like, just weighing me down, so I needed to say it, but I would always phrase it in like a
breadcrumb.
Yeah, you make it more ambiguous so people don't know exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So you can still put out the song.
Mhm.
It has different meanings personally to you.
Yeah, I hate to reference the show. I'm so sorry to everyone, but there's this show Rick and Morty where like he becomes like Teen Rick, and like he's like his music is like begging for help. He's like trapped inside of himself and dying, and he's just like but it's all in like happy melodies, and like I feel like that was a lot of the music that I would make at first. I loved putting like really sad shit, but to like a happy, upbeat sort of thing.
I mean, that's just a recipe for success.
You know, just dance to the Millie rock that depression out your body, and I just So I couldn't hold it in, so I would just put it out and hide it. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I just write like a fuckload of songs, so there's some stuff that I'm like, that's a little too weird.
That's a little too.
But now, everybody knows how weird I am, so it doesn't fucking matter. And
I see some boats in your future.
those are gonna be like really melancholy boats, but yes,
It's all right. It's all right.
I'm for a slow boat ride where we introspectively talk about everything.
What parts of the industry feel the most energizing, and what parts reliably drain you?
I'm gonna take this one. Live music, most energizing, depending on the show. If I'm getting paid a lot to play in front of nobody, not very energizing. Getting paid a little to play in front of a lot of people, very energizing. The studio, the best, absolutely. The worst, social media. Period. It is the most soul-sucking part of this entire job. Because it's never enough. It's never, ever enough. There's never going to be enough. There's an insatiable hunger for content that no one in this room could ever fulfill, and they will constantly berate you for not doing enough. Even you could do 3 posts a day, and they'd be like, I don't know, your numbers aren't as good as somebody else, and then you're like, oh my god.
I think my fuck kill Mary might be a little different.
Cool.
I think like the studio for me is like the most draining part of it for me, just because that's where I really am like so intent on making it like perfect and really expressing what I'm saying in just the right way. So it's just like, I don't know, it's like a video game where I like can't get past that level.
So kill the studio.
Yes, kill studio.
Got it.
And then I think that I would fuck social media, but
Yeah, but you're good at it.
I know it's.
Plenty
I
of
know
boats.
it's. But the
Plenty of boats.
reason why I'm so good at social media, my God, is just because I've never ever cared about like the like aspect of it. I've always just seen it as like, am I getting better? You know what I mean? Like even last year, like I posted a rap every day for the entire year, and I was like hype about getting 100 likes. I was just hype about like getting to put myself out there completely, and it's like every day it's like a little lottery ticket to like get your art out to another person. So it's never really mattered about like the likes or anything like that. If I saw that it's like got 1,000 views, I'm like, cool, that's 1,000 people that like fuck with me putting myself out there. You know what I mean? And then I would definitely, obviously marry live performance, because it's like, it is that chance to where you can actually, social media is good because it's like, it makes you better by like putting yourself out there and not really trying to think about it, but you don't necessarily get to see the immediate, like, I love being at shows and seeing the reactions to people who haven't heard me before, or like weren't expecting me to be able to do what I do. Or even shit, we in Fort Worth, some of my favorite comments is, I don't usually like that rap music, but I understood everything you were saying. And it just like, people that would never fuck with hip hop or never fuck with Outkast or just like Lauryn Hill, anything like that, it's like, that is all what I'm a product of. So if you fuck with me, you fuck with that. You know what I mean? It's just like one step closer to, less racism in the world, I guess. But aside from that, I tell you what. What'd you say? You said if you get paid a lot and there's nobody in the room?
Oh yeah.
Love it. Rehearsal. Paid rehearsal.
Oh.
My God, today.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love
Oh
it.
yeah, until they're like eating a burger, and then you're just like,
Hey, look, do you want fries with that? Because I'm getting paid and I can buy it for you. I don't give a damn.
got a capitalist.
Meet in the middle.
I think I'm gonna one more on this one. I think that if you are in a place where you are going about it as a student, regardless of what you're doing, you will enjoy it much more. And the way that you go about social media, as this is a chance to get better, is so much more constructive than I have to meet this deadline. Or I have to, my manager's calling me to post a picture about, or make a video about a show that's not selling very well. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. Hate that
Yeah,
part of
you
it.
know what
Hate
I'm
that
talking
part of it.
about.
Oh,
I mean, it's
God.
more than just likes and comments. And it's more than
Yeah.
just like, I'm going to post a rap every day, which I would love to write a song every day. I'd do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But while you're on the road and while you're trying to make load in, while you're trying to fill up gas, while you're starving, while you're going through a divorce, while you're like going through gender dysphoria, sometimes it's really fucking hard to just be all like, hey, my show tonight is selling really fast and we really would love to see you guys come out to the shed.
That's why I like when my manager wants me to do shit like that. I'm like,
Get the
no,
drummer.
No, but I will
Damn.
put it out. I can do it in a way that like I get to make myself better. I can put it out in like art or whatever. But I guess I don't know. I did also sign myself up for doing it every day for a year. So it's like in that I found a way to where I can like be able to express myself without having to like even like at the Amplified Mind show like. I did more promo for that show than any show ever in my life, but it was because anytime.
Thank you. That was a
goddamn.
great show, by the way.
Thank you so much. But like literally for what it meant, and then also it's like I got to literally just use my art to promote it, and I got to use my like song about going crazy to promote a show for people that go crazy. You know what I mean? So I don't know. To each his.
I'm going to talk to you in like 2 years after you've gone on hardcore touring.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, how's that social media?
I'll be like, oh, ask my assistant.
Yeah, that's right.
I think there is.
She's on the boat.
She does that. She does that now.
I think there is something too, as part of being a musician too, when you take a passion and it turns into your profession, right? And I've seen and worked with so many musicians who feel like after a while that they lose that passion because it's turned into the profession for them. They're more about being at the like the radio studio in the morning, and then they've got this, then they've got this, they've got this promo to do, and then they can get to the show and they have to be on. Like you can always be on, and you are not allowed to be off. You're not allowed to, if you're going through divorce, you're not allowed to be able to suffer that publicly. You're not allowed to access your support because they're 400 miles away sometimes. Or the expectation is that you're going to hold it together and the show must go on, right? This type of attitude, I think, again, we look at that as something that is part of show business, but that again, that's actually a work hazard. To buy into that mentality and to feel that pressure to be able to be on all the time. There are shows I remember playing where I was like, I don't fucking want to play tonight, and I have to step out there and I have to make a bunch of other people happy when I'm not happy. And I'm like, fuck them and fuck me for not wanting to make them happy. Those moments in that time with that, there's so much pressure. Yeah. It is a vicious cycle. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know who it was. It was back when I was working at Universal. I want to say it was Tommy Lee, but I don't remember who it was.
It was Tommy Lee.
It was Tommy Lee. And we were all talking like I have his number or something. But he was telling everybody how, like, he's like, all we have to do is make the music. He's like, you guys package the music. And he's talking about being on all the time. And having to, like, you go into the bathroom and you're in a bathroom stall and somebody's next to you and they put the paper under the stall and they're like, hey, can you give me an autograph? And he's like, no, but if you say no to that one person, everybody they meet forever is like, I hate Motley Crue because Tommy Lee was mean to me.
Yeah.
Does that happen to you?
I think it's
Is this an
realizing like
intervention?
I think it's realizing like everybody ain't gonna like you. They're just not. And it's like you can't like make everybody happy. You can't like you're not always gonna be on, and that's okay. You're not always gonna be happy. And like you will literally like kill yourself trying to like make everybody think that you're like you're human, and like everyone else is like allowed to be human. The only difference is like since we're musicians, it's like people don't necessarily put you in that place. You're like a thing to them, like an object to them. Like the same way you could like see someone out in the street that you recognize on social media and think that you are allowed to run up to them and like be in their face and take up their time, and it's like no, you just see them on the phone and you hold that person in your phone, so it makes you think that you have ownership to them, but people don't have fucking ownership of you. And like you're allowed, like I think especially, and I'm gonna keep going back to last year because last year really was such a transformative year for me of realizing like what it means to like fully put yourself out there is like you have to put yourself first. You gotta put your mask on first, because it's like otherwise then you really are going to have that moment where it's like all this stuff you end up having like resentment for fans and resentment for the audience because you're feeling like that they're making you be a certain way when it's really just you making yourself be like, I have to be this way.
Yeah. A lot of the musicians I've worked with, 90% of them started off as kids who just wanted people to like them, right? And this was an avenue for that, and then eventually became more a form of self-expression to be able to, be out there, and be vulnerable with all of that. And you're right, there's such a risk of not being liked because you didn't shake somebody's hand after a show or something like that.
Yeah. I will say, just in response to that, I think the only difference that I've had in me is that literally the only goal of doing music was so that I would like me.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like the only, because everyone else, even like at shows and shit, like where people were like before I was like fully out, before I was like fully like me, having people come up to me and be like, yo, I fuck with that set, that was so good, blah, blah, blah. And like, while I'm drunk, I'm just thinking in my mind like, oh, I tricked them into like, you know what I mean? Because you don't even like me, you like this person that I'm pretending to be. And it's like, I can't even accept appreciation for my craft or anything like that from other people because I don't even fucking like me. You know what I mean? So I think that's why it's like, I'm like my first person that I'm like worried about being happy. And that doesn't, people can make like spin that to make it seem like you're being selfish, but it really is, you do have to like put your happiness first. Otherwise you end up like these people that are mad at trans people, that are mad at immigrants, that are mad at everybody else because they don't like themselves and they can't be themselves, and they will get mad at seeing someone else, being selfish by being themselves and putting their happiness first, Yeah,
truth. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. 100%. Oh my God. Yeah. Started a band. I hope people like me. Totally want to like myself. Took me a long time. People liked me when I was in a punk rock band. I was like, all right, cool. And then when I got into a country band, I was like, okay, all right, yeah, maybe, sure, whatever. I don't know if you actually like me, but I think you have an idea of me that you like, and I'm gonna exploit that. But when that got too much, substance abuse, I got sober 3 years ago, started me down this giant rabbit hole of... You can ask anybody in Fort Worth that it was a very good decision. Yeah, you start to know yourself, your music gets better. You start to dive into what's going on and start owning up to yourself, taking responsibility for your actions, start looking for ways of giving yourself the tools you need to survive this industry, which I know we don't have very much time, but I really just want to adamantly say to all the musicians that your mental health is very, very important, and that going to therapy is not a weakness, that medication is not a weakness, coming out is not a weakness. All of those things are your strengths, and you should do them to the best of your ability so you can keep making great music, because I want to hear it. But also, like, there are moments where we are all human, and there are moments where we all need support, and we've all found it in this community. And if we keep opening up individually, and we keep coming out as gay or transgender or bigot, we will all know each other better. And then we'll all end up at the right shows, you know?
Just weed them out.
Just gotta put them. Well, they get to go over to the Kid Rock show. That's fine.
So
It's only 1,000 people there.
So to kind of close things out from each of our panelists, if each of you would kind of disclose just a sentence or two about what keeps you going. How are you still making this work for you as far as your mental health?
I am on Lexapro. I go to therapy once a week. I came out as a woman. I don't drink anymore. I don't do drugs anymore. And all of that culminated to me being in a band that connects with people so much that they'll come up to my merch booth, and they'll come out to me as transgender or gay, and they've never even told anybody, but they decided to tell the lead singer of a country ska band. And I get to give hugs, and I get to meet parents of trans kids who liked my band but didn't like their kid, but when I came out, they were like, fuck it, you know? And there's this moment where, like, I feel that what I'm doing is a service instead of just this ego trip. And I think that those are the moments that I'm really searching for, those moments where, like, I really get to meet somebody face to face, and they see me and I see them, and we move about life together after that, whether it's musically or personally.
Kirk?
Wow. How do I keep going? I get to help people, and really that's all I really wanted to do. I remember back when I was working at Universal Music and video distribution, I was like, man, at the end of the day, all we're doing is selling music, you know? I mean, music is great, but I was like, I want to be more, you know? I want to touch people, you know? I want to have an impact on people. And so I decided to do something different. And really, you know, having meaning in your life is important. And I'm fortunate enough that I get to do this. So, thank you.
It's funny that you said the word meaning, because that's a huge part of my answer. Last year, when I was at the halfway mark of posting a verse every day, my mom texted me and congratulated me for being on day 183 of the challenge, and like would always talk about my dedication and like just how proud of me she was for like saying I was going to do something and doing it. Shortly after she had sent me that text, she had a heart attack and passed 4 days later. And I know that she kind of felt like she was behind in life whenever she had passed. And last year's whenever I committed to myself that I was going to bring as much meaning to my life, because the more meaning that I brought to my life, the more meaning hers will have had. She could be the mother of, you know, of me. And, you know, I just want to really just, I always say on stage that like I'm different from other artists that perform because my goal isn't to get you to like me, my goal is to get you to like yourself. And my whole point of being Cure for Paranoia is to make people feel less crazy, make people feel less I know it sounds corny, but less sad. And I just want people to know that, like, if everything that I was going through last year didn't take me out, then there's no reason that whatever it is that y'all are committed to doing and committed to accomplishing, there's no reason that y'all can't do that and 10 times more. Because I have always felt like, just with everything that I deal with and go through in life, I've always felt like I've been running with weights. So I mean, I just feel like people who don't have shit on their ankles should have no problem sprinting. You know what I mean? So yeah, meaning. Thank you.
I want to personally thank all of our panelists for being up here. I appreciate the show of vulnerability and authenticity with all of this. I think for you guys, what I hope that takes, or what you can take from this, is to understand that the CDs that you buy, the music that you listen to, the t-shirts that you buy, that there are actual genuine people behind that. And that those people face struggles similar to maybe what you face as well too. And that's important to know, because that's a different type of connection. And a lot of times when you're on a stage, there's a barrier, right? There's a big sound man up front or security, and they're looking mean and tough. And you've got to keep your 4 feet distance and don't climb on the barrier, because if you climb on the barrier, they're going to beat the shit out of you and throw you out of the club. Yeah, right. But there's so much barriers between the artist and the crowd. And so having panels like this, I think, helps kind of bridge that gap a little bit. So if there's something I want all of you to be able to take from this tonight, is to see and to hold space for the people that are up on the stage. Thank you very much.